Now we're going to talk about the general formula of the photosynthesis, and I'm sure that you know that here you have some reactants, here you have some products, and I'm sure that you know the CO2 goes here to the glucose. However, something pretty cool that happened during photosynthesis is that you use this light to break the water into hydrogen and oxygen. So this oxygen will be a product of this, and the hydrogen will go and be part of the glucose as well as the water. So remember, you have two reactants during photosynthesis. The carbon will go to form the glucose, and the oxygen of the carbon will form the glucose. However, there is a process that you split the molecule of water. The chloroplast will split the water into hydrogen and oxygen, and the electrons released will incorporate into the sugar. So these electrons will go here and it will go into the water, while the oxygen will be released as a byproduct. So two things that I want that you remember, that the molecule of water is split in the beginning of photosynthesis, and the hydrogens will go and are part of the glucose and are also part of the water. From a very general perspective, photosynthesis has two main reactions. Like reactions, it will be one, and the second will be dark or carbon reaction, and both happen at different sites of the chloroplast. So you have light, and this will happen in the thylakoids. You have the water, you split it, and as a result, you release oxygen. Though the key reaction there, the key products of this will be ATP and ADPH, and this will be very important. Why? Because this will be used later to produce glucose. Later, you have this dark or carbon reaction that they will take place in the stroma. They require CO2 that it will be fixated, and as a result, the byproduct will be glucose. So remember, photosynthesis has two phases. One that is the light reaction, and the other one will be the carbon reaction. And they take place in different places. One taking the place in the thylakoids, and the other one take place in the stroma. So these are the two phases of photosynthesis. And in your textbook, I think that they did an excellent job to summarize everything with this diagram. Again, you have two phases, light reactions and the Calvin cycle. Here they show, as I said, that display the molecule of water, and as a product you release water. And this happened in the thylakoids. Here they show very clear that this happened in the stroma. And this step is very important, that you need ATP as well as NADPH to produce the glucose. And they are constantly recycling these materials to keep producing photosynthesis. And how do you get these protons back, this hydrogen back? You get it using adding light plus water. So I just gave you a very brief introduction of the photosynthesis. Now let's start with the light reactions. Now I'm going to talk about the light reactions, and I'm going to summarize it in 4 points. So first point that I want that you remember is that this process depend on light. So if you don't have light, you cannot break the water and release oxygen. So they are light dependent. Another important point is that they take place in the thylakoids. Yeah, they don't take place in the stroma, they take place in the thylakoids. And the product of splitting the molecule of water allowed to capture this hydrogen here to produce ATP and NADPH. that it will be necessary for the second part of the photosynthesis. So light reaction are all these processes that take place here. The first thing that I told you is that they are light dependent. Second thing that I told you is that here that they occur in the chloroplast in the thylakoid membrane. Third thing that I told you is that the water is split into oxygen and hydrogen. And the last thing that I told you is that the light energy of the photons generate two chemical energy compounds, ATP and NADPH. And chemical energy compounds are made in the light reactions. So first one, you take the ADP and the inorganic phosphate, and as you have energy from the light, from the solar energy, you're able to produce ATP. The second chemical energy compound is the NADPH, that you take the NADP and you have 2 electrons plus this protein and you produce this NADPH. That has this very long name. Now I want that you watch a video that relates the nature of the sunlight as well as the chloroplast to try to understand why not only plants are green, but also what are the wavelengths of light that are used during photosynthesis.
Light energy and pigments. Sunlight is a type of energy called radiation or electromagnetic energy. Electromagnetic energy travels through space in a manner similar to the motion of waves in water. The distance between the crests of two adjacent waves is called a wavelength. The full range of electromagnetic wavelengths is known as the electromagnetic spectrum. What we call visible light, the wavelengths that our eyes see as different colors, is only a small fraction of the spectrum. The light reactions of photosynthesis use only certain wavelengths or colors of visible light. The thylakoid membrane in chloroplasts contains light-absorbing molecules called pigments. Different pigments absorb light in different wavelengths. One pigment, chlorophyll A, absorbs mainly blue-violet and red light. This molecule participates directly in the light reactions. Another molecule, chlorophyll B, absorbs mainly blue and orange light. We do not see these absorbed colors when we look at a leaf. Instead, we see the green wavelengths that are reflected back from the leaf or transmitted through it.